I'm Becky Meagher, and welcome to Transitions, Body, Mind, Spirit. Transitions, what kind of transitions have you gone through your life? I do triathlons, and that's a great metaphor for what happens when you transition from one thing to another. First you swim, then you go to the transition area, then you bike, and you transition again, and then you run. And that is such a metaphor for life. Today we have a pretty amazing guest, John Hewlett. His story is as somebody in his mid-50s decided to be a triathlete. And we want to find out how he began this. And his story also is somebody who never felt he was an athlete. And I think it's a very inspiring story. And the real kicker is that he has done the big one, the IronMan, beach to battleship. But more on that. First, I want to welcome John. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Becky.
Yeah. I am delighted to hear about your story, and I'd like to find out a little bit on how you first began your life as a kid, and I think that was in Oregon, did you say?
Yeah, southern Oregon, and
Okay.
it was a very small town, and in small towns there are sort of two classes of boy kids, ones who are athletic and are cool, and then if you're not, you're on the outs. And so I lived actually on the outskirts of town and didn't have neighbors to play with, and I'd hop on my bike and pedal up to the playground. But then I was horrible at everything they did. I couldn't make baskets, I couldn't catch fly balls if we played ball. So I sort of grew up early without a lot of athletic experience.
Okay, so did you try and join a team?
Yeah, one year my mom had me do Little League, and I rode about 30 minutes across town to Little League, and it was fast pitch hardball, and I was about 10 and scared to death, and just sort of stood there afraid that it would hit me. And I remember one game in particular, we had a 11-run streak going, and I came up to bat, and all the kids go, "Well, there goes our streak. He won't do anything." And so that was sort of the mental picture I had of myself growing up, just not an athlete. And then had an experience in junior high that was equally setting that whole "you're not athletic." 7th grade, I decided I'd try football. And the coach promised us all in the big pep talk beforehand, everybody will get to play. You know, it won't be anybody who sits on the bench the whole season. So the season completed, and I was still sitting on the bench for every play, for every game. And I went up to the coach and said, "Hey, coach, what happened? You said we'd all get to play." And he said, "Oh, yeah, well, I'll get some scrub games with another school for all you guys who we didn't put in." And I said, "That isn't what you said. You said we all get to play in a game." "Oh, well, yeah, well, I'll get a game for all the losers," essentially is how it felt. And so the next day I turned in my football gear to the coach and said, "It's not what you said," and that, I feel like I got ripped off. And he said, "You're a quitter." And I got a C- in PE that semester.
Ow. And you were how old?
7th grade, so
11, 12?
Yeah, 13, I'm not sure, 7 plus, yeah, 13.
I think that's such an example of what teachers tell us as little kids, as young adults. We kind of take it to heart, and then we believe it, and then it takes a lifetime, or maybe never, to overcome it.
Yeah, because at that point I knew I wasn't an athlete and I should do something else, and so I took up music.
Music, instead of athleticism, music.
And played the trombone and
that kind of thing?
It's pretty much a cut-up, so the trombone's perfect. You can poke the people in front with the slide and and make fun of stuff. And so I did trombone all through high school, and so there you got to be marching band and pep band. Both of which were sort of playing music for the real performers, the athletes, the basketball players and football. So that whole second-class citizen, not quite a real human being or real male or the right kind of male, sort of continued to grow through high school.
Wow. And then you went to college. Did you do any sports in college?
No, small liberal arts school. They had a great nationally ranked crew but not really any team, but not any athletics. So I switched to singing in college because you didn't have to carry the trombone around. It was a lot easier, and so I sang through college.
So did you get a degree in singing, or?
No, business and computer science.
Okay.
So I ended up being a data-rich IT kind of guy. The whole algorithms and figuring out how all the technology worked was an area that I was excited about, and my career kind of grew from there.
Okay. So then you ended up marrying, having children, and then didn't you do sports with your kids?
Sort of, yeah. I had two boys, and the great part about having boys is they like to do all the same stuff that I wanted to do. So we bought dirt bikes, and we rode dirt bikes, and I bought a windsurfing board so we could windsurf. And
windsurfing, wow.
It was out in Seattle, so we had hiking in the hills and that kind of thing. And so I did sort of athletic things, but athletes compete in events. And that wasn't anything that we did or I did with them, or they did themselves, actually.
They didn't do events either?
The youngest one was on the swim dive team, and then his senior year decided to try gymnastics just because he wanted to know how to do a standing backflip.
Wow. Wow.
But again, it was them and not me, because I wasn't an athlete. It had been made clear to me growing up.
And when I think of anybody in IT, I think of them droning, sitting in front of the computer, not moving. Was that kind of your lifestyle?
Yeah, very sedentary, and occasionally cans of Coke and Snickers bars to go with the screen. But yeah, it wasn't a very athletic endeavor and no real.
Wow. So there was a long period in your life that you weren't athletic, your kids kind of did some things, and then your kids are out of high school or college, and somehow or other something awoke in you to go, let's do something for exercise. Did you do exercise at all?
I had tried running a couple of times. In my 20s, I ran one 10K event and then limped for 6 months because nobody told me how. I didn't have any real mentors or somebody to guide me in that process. And the no pain, no gain, I just ran through all the pain until I injured myself, thinking, I got to deal the pain in order to get where I need to go. So that didn't really work until later. I had an opportunity to do something. So
what was your big aha moment to start exercising? And I think it involves a friend?
Yeah, I ended up with a girlfriend in the Chicago area who was a triathlete and had run the Chicago Marathon 8 years in a row. And I started dating her, and she said, do you run? No. Okay. Okay, well, you understand what my lifestyle is going to be. I mean, I'm going to train hard for 14 weeks to do this. And I said, okay, well, I'll find something to do. You know, I used to ride bikes. Why don't I buy a bike? And while you're out running, I could be out riding. And so I bought a bicycle and started riding again. And that was pretty fun. And
she was running, but you were...
Yeah, so she'd go with her friends and run, and I'd find places to ride around the countryside. And a lot had changed in technology since I was 15 and had a 10-speed, so it was pretty fun. So,
wow. So she would run, but you're on the bike, but are you doing it together?
No.
No. Okay, I kind of envisioned maybe she was running and you're beside her, trying to keep up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So then you went, okay, wow, I like this biking thing. And then what happened? That kind of spurred you on to some kind of next thing?
Well, the next piece was swimming. She needed to get ready to do some triathlon swimming, and being in the Chicago area, we could swim in Lake Michigan.
Ooh, how cold is Lake Michigan?
Yeah, that's very cold. Definitely wetsuit. Absolutely. So she said, do you know how to swim? And I said, well, yeah, I had swim lessons growing up. I didn't swim in high school or competitive, but yeah, I know how to swim. So for fun, I went and bought a wetsuit, and I remember getting into Lake Michigan for the first time and trying to put my head in the water and lifting my head up screaming it was so cold. It got warmer and I got more used to it. So we did swimming and biking. Well, I biked, and then that was the next piece. And then she finally asked about whether I could run.
I see. So she actually was kind of guiding you, mentoring you. I mean, she already was at a certain level, and you were, you know, kind of down here learning, right?
Yep.
Okay, and you're like, okay, well, all right, let's try this. And so you tried the swim. Okay.
And so she said, well, let's try running. I said, okay, I could do that. And I bought some running shoes. And we went out running. And after 2 blocks, I stopped and said, okay, we got to walk for a while. I hardly breathe. And she told me later that she thought, he's never going to make it. He is absolutely not runner material.
But she didn't say that, right?
Correct.
She thought it.
Yeah. And she said, well, we could try this. She said, well, you know, you can run some and walk some. And I said, I'm sorry, in my book, walking is cheating. You know, runners run, and if you're walking, then you're not a real runner. But because she was helping guide me, she said, no, that's not how that works. There is a running a coach named Jeff Galloway, and he has a program called Run, Walk, Run. And so you run, and then you walk, and then you run, and then you walk, and you end up injury-free, and, you know, gets people like me who weren't athletic, or maybe athletic but not an athlete, able to compete.
I'm familiar with the Galloway Method. I have a lot of friends. I've tried a little bit of that myself. Did you go with, like, you can sign up and go with a bunch of people, or did you just read the book, or how did you do it?
Read the book, went on the internet, looked at 17,000 websites and 1,100 YouTube videos, and said, okay, I'll just do this. And
you didn't have a coach?
Did not have a coach.
Other than your girlfriend, who was kind of your coach?
Yeah. And we would start running at the same time, and then she would run, and I would finish after her. But you know, we'd at least get each other out and going. But we spent a lot of time talking about, is this a hobby I do, or is this a lifestyle? Because for me it was a hobby, and for her a lifestyle.
Oh, wow! What a great idea. Is it a hobby or a lifestyle? I never thought about that. It's definitely a lifestyle for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been doing triathlons 11 years, started out with Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, and I can't imagine not doing it. And every year I go, can I do it? Yeah, hell yeah, I can. You know, so continue.
Yeah, so she helped me rephrase that, and she took me out. I ran a 5K, so I knew I could run that far, and then I did my first triathlon. And I remember coming in, competing, being out there with all those athletes, being an athlete, and I came across the finish line dancing like a fool. An hour and 40 minutes. Okay, so there weren't a lot of people behind me, but I finished it. And I was a triathlete. It was just amazing.
And that first one you did, where was it, and was it what's called a sprint? And could you tell everybody, what is a sprint? Everybody's saying, what's the distance? What's that mean?
Yeah, so sprints are the smallest of the triathlons. It was up in Valparaiso. They had a community triathlon, and so you swam, I don't know, 800 yards. I mean, it turns out in a lake, and just an out and back, and then you rode 12 miles, I think, or 16. It varies a little bit, and then you end with a 3.1 mile run, or run, walk, run, walk, run, walk, run, in my book.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was great. I thought, this is terrific. I'm actually starting to do athletic events. I still didn't think I was an athlete, though.
And your first triathlon, the sprint, how old were you?
56. It was 2 years ago.
56. Now, I just find that so inspirational. All the people that I talk to, and they go, oh, you did triathlons, I'm too old, you're too... and I go, well, hell, I started when I was in my 50s, early 50s, and it's very inspirational that there you are in your 50s and you're just beginning. Yeah. And you're not only just beginning, but you kept on going. That's the amazing thing.
And having the support of my girlfriend at that point, helping me understand what it means and getting me out there and talking me through that. It was the first real coach I had in my life to sort of to move me on and do that. And so that was 2011, and did 4 triathlons and a bunch of 5K, 10K races.
And those were sprints?
Sprints, 3 sprints, and then the next size larger is an Olympic distance, and you swim 3/4 of a mile, and you bike 40, about 40, 30.
You swim 1 mile.
1 mile?
Yes.
Is it a mile?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
It was in the salt water. It wasn't pretty.
That was the Key West one?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, and then
the Olympic was in Key West.
Yep.
Now that must have been fun.
Oh.
Put your bike in a plane? Is that what you did?
I of course needed new toys, so I bought a box that I could take on the airplane.
Okay.
And flew it out to Miami, and then rented a car and drove down, and we did that race. And it ends with a 6.1 mile 10K run. And I think there were 3 people who were behind me, but I didn't care. I actually thought it was, I played an important role in the event, because if you're first out of 1, it's not very exciting, but if you're first out of 50, then it says something about you. I was the 50 part. Oh. I was always the out of end of the, you know. There'd be 1 or 2 people, usually I hope, at least 1, who was behind me, but frankly, it was all about me and finishing, and not so much about beating anybody.
Right, and explain too that triathlons, unless you're the elite, it's done on an age group.
Yes.
So you're competing with people in your age, and then you can get prizes in your age group and all that.
Yeah, so you're really, you're ranked by how old you are, and so I'm running in the 55 to 60 age group, and I am in fact a nationally ranked USAT, United States, or maybe it's TA Triathlon Association, 1623rd in my age group nationwide. So I'm now in
1623rd. Wow!
Out of 1700 people. So. But again, I'm the guy that helps make them be first in the age group.
That's great.
Yeah, so it's fun.
Wow. So after you did your first Olympic, and it was in Key West, it's got to be the coolest place to do it.
Yeah.
And it was warm, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah, not like Lake Michigan.
Yeah.
Then it was like, hey, I can do this, and then it sounded like you really were empowered.
Then I thought I could do a half Ironman. I bet I could train to do the half Ironman, and so a half Ironman is 1.5 mile, 1.25 mile. I don't know. You just get in the water and go till they let you stop. And a 56-mile bike ride, and then a 13-mile run. And so I figured I could do one of those. I could try. I could never do. I could ever do a full Ironman, because you look at those people and they walk on special ground, and
those are the
So I decided I could train, and I moved down here.
Okay, so you came.
Had a job change to move from Chicago down to Middle Tennessee, and went to the Nashville Triathlon Club. And they had an outdoor swim that first week I was here, and I met my coach, Andrew Dollar.
Who's my coach also.
And I signed up immediately with Andrew. And it works out great. Online, I have an idea of what I needed each week. He says you need to do this much of this on this day. And and he said, and you should get as much of it as possible, and occasionally miss. Well, with a new job and new territory, and I wasn't very regular at getting it done. Keeping
the schedule that he has mapped out, run this much, swim this much.
It was still pretty much a hobby and not a lifestyle. I didn't have to run each day. I mean, I was looking for, it's a little hot out. I think maybe I can't run today.
Excuses.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
So I did a couple of, I think I only did one event last year, and then a half Ironman. But at the point I figured out I could do a half, I decided to sign up to do a whole one. Because if you can do, I'd done each of the pieces individually, and I just had to put them together. It can't be that hard. So once I would see if I could learn to do a full one. So before I did my first half one, I signed up to do a full Ironman in Cabo San Lucas.
Cabo, I've been there.
Oh, it'd be wonderful. And it was a brand new one, and I signed up for it, and they didn't have the course laid out, so I wasn't really sure. But it's Cabo. I mean, you're by the water. How hard could it be? There was a 6,000-foot elevation gain on the bike ride.
Oh, my.
And going a long ways is hard. Going up and a long ways is really difficult. And because I still wasn't really committed to it, it wasn't a lifestyle, one day Andrew sent me an email, said, call me, and I did. And he said, buddy, you're not going to make it. You aren't putting the time in. You're never going to finish the bike ride to get to the run. So I think you need to not go to Mexico. And you need to decide, are you really committed to doing a full
You really want to do this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I thought about it and took a month off and ate a lot. Didn't train. I said, no, I want to do it. I do. So I signed up to do Beach to Battleship this year, in October of last year, a few months ago.
Okay. So that you did your Ironman.
Yep.
And we're going to have, I want you to explain what that was like. And weren't you training with your son, also one of your sons, to do this?
Yeah, the oldest son was also doing triathlons. The youngest one's stuck on submarines, so he can't do a lot of training. But the oldest one was in Arizona, so we would train together in different parts of the country and sort of every day share what we'd done and how it was going and what we were accomplishing and doing. And so I got all spun up to do this, got committed, decided I could do 100% of what I was told to do.
Yes.
And turned it into really what I was all about.
And a father and son gig.
Yep.
Yeah, on Ironman, father and son.
And then while he was training in Arizona, he clipped the front tire of the bike in front of him he was training with and went down and called from the hospital with a broken collarbone, which became 13 pins and 6 months of waiting for the bone to knit back together again. So he's currently out of triathloning and has transitioned out of that, and I'm sure he'll transition into it again at a later date. Wow.
So, and he's how old, 30?
31.
31. Does he find it a little ironic that his dad, who
yes,
is late 50s, is doing an Ironman?
Yeah, Dad, who's not an athlete, you know, he was able to come out for the Ironman, and Wilmington, North Carolina, is where I was.
That's where the Beach to Battleship is, Wilmington, North Carolina.
And he's working in Raleigh at Duke teaching, and so he came down. But I started at 7 in the morning, and he didn't leave his house till 3 because he knew I was going to be out swimming and riding and riding and riding. And it isn't as spectator friendly as some other events. But he came down and saw me on my loop and then was there at midnight when I came across the finish line to cheer me on.
Wow. Well, and we have, we'll be showing a picture of John across the finish line, which is so cool. And you said there are actually people there, I mean, it took you 16 hours, is that right?
16 and a half hours. So went in the water at 7:30 in the morning, swam for an hour and a half, transitioned to bike, rode for just under 7 hours, transitioned to run and ran just under 7 hours, 14, 15, 16, yeah. And the transition time, and came across the finish line exactly at midnight. And there were tons of people there. That was the exciting part. There were probably 100 people cheering because those are the people going across the finish line who really, really, really wanted it bad and really had to work hard. You know?
Yes.
Because it's easy. I don't know what it's like to finish in daylight. I mean, obviously it was quite nighttime. You know, and so there were just people cheering in it. And I actually took some time to dance around the finish line and really soak it up. I decided crossing a minute or two earlier by sprinting at the end, which is my usual style. Instead, I just took the time to celebrate the accomplishment of the year and a half of training I'd done to get ready for it.
Wow. And was there this great elation? It's like, God, I did it, I did it. And how long did that last?
Yeah, days. Yeah,
days.
It actually was hard to believe I'd accomplished it, something that's big. And it didn't quite sink in that I had done all those pieces. In my recovery, I was watching TV and the New York Marathon came on TV. And I'm watching these marathoners and I thought, God, I could never run a marathon. And then I burst out laughing because I had just done one 2 weeks earlier after riding 112 miles first. But I still thought of them as different kinds of athletes.
You still weren't identifying. Yeah. And this, I hope that through all this and all and doing an Ironman, has your own self-worth about, hey, I really am an athlete, is that clicking now? Or are you still back to the 11-year-old, I'm not really not? Where are you in your...
It finally clicked in. I can own being an athlete. and it was hugely changing. You know, it's one of those pieces that was missing from me growing up, and now I have that, and it's part of my identity, and you know, I feel different.
About you.
Yeah.
And
yeah, it was great.
is it a lifestyle now, not a hobby, like you were saying?
Yep. I actually signed up for another one.
The Chattanooga one?
The Chattanooga.
And explain that Chattanooga is really cool because it's the first time it's ever been in Chattanooga, and it got booked up in 5 minutes. And I thought about it, and it was like gone. I mean, you know, so I'm going to be a volunteer, and that's Chattanooga. When is that? That's
September 28th, 2014.
Okay. September 28th.
And it's got a 2,000-foot elevation gain, maybe 2,500 feet. So I'm going to have to do some hills, do a little more hill training, and be ready to do hills. So I did sign up. The one funny thought I had was when I crossed the finish line, I thought, oh, I've done it. I don't have to do that again. Oh, why did I sign up for another one? I could have been done with this. But by the next morning, I was thinking, you know, if I run some more, I could do some half marathons in the training. And if I do my bike stuff and I swim this and that. So you
use the word addictive, I think?
Yeah. I think once you get into it, you know, I could do that one, or I could do that one again, or I can do that one faster. I've got the endurance thing. I don't really care how long. I would like to get a little bit faster, but I just like going long distances and accomplishing it. So.
And then you have the most magnificent tattoo on you, and we're going to show that also, which is on your left leg, right leg.
Yeah.
And I think it's very large, very large tattoo, but you can't miss it. And if I had done Ironman, I'd have a tattoo also.
Yeah, I saw a couple of people with tattoos running, and I did 2 half Ironmen, and I see, basically I get to watch everybody pass me, so I get to see the legs of a lot of people. And it's cute because, as you know, you put your age on your left calf. And so everybody who would go by who was younger than me, I'd say, well, you know, they're younger. Of course they're going faster.
Yeah.
It did hurt a little bit when the 72-year-old was passing me. It's like, oh, man.
There's always somebody.
Yeah, who's faster.
Yeah.
But really, I'm out there doing it. So I decided I would do a tattoo. And then I didn't want just the advertising with the M dot, we call it, the red part with the circle over the top. So I put a orca whale because you got to swim a lot. And then in order to complete it, we put a bicycle on it, so swim, bike, and run. And
how wonderful.
It'll be fun to show off this year.
Wow, that is great. Wow. Well, John, thank you very, very much for being with us. You have 10 seconds to say, would you have any advice to give to anybody out there thinking they should do a triathlon?
You can. I mean, you can learn to do it. You can train in the swim, bike, run. And I use the transitions in triathlon to transition my self-image, and it's been wonderful. It was well worth the investment.
You feel good about you.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you, John Hewlett. Thank you. Thank you. Transitions. Stay tuned for more. Thanks. Bye.